Have you ever liked superheroes so much that you could never get them out of your head? Me too. I have spent the last 11 years of my life making a superhero multiverse. I could never come up with a name for it until I started my YouTube channel. And now that I'm the Quick Turtle, I realized I have a name for my universe, which is the Turtleverse. Now, I may not be the main character of my Turtleverse, but that doesn't matter, because there's not supposed to be a main character of the multiverse. Characters in the universe just exist. So I wrote down a little script here, and a lot more than that. I have 51 pages of content, except I'm only going to read off about the first four, because I don't think you guys want 51 pages of different character profiles. And if for some god unholy reason, if for some reason like that this video does well, I guess I could totally make a part 2 and I just go over all the characters. I don't know what background footage will be playing while you're watching this, but I'm assuming that you've got the TikTok-itis or whatever it's called. So I will probably just have Minecraft footage in the background or some other game I enjoy playing. And with that, let's get into the video. Ever since I was 9, I've always loved superheroes. The stories, the powers, saving the day, fighting off bad guys. Even mundane things like using flight to get to school or super speed to go to my bed, so fast that the darkness monster doesn't catch you. Then one day, while I was playing with Legos, I took a couple of them apart and I put the legs on the wrong body and then I put the cape on the wrong character, and I was like, oh, that's cool. This opened up a whole new world to me. The art of creating custom characters. I was in love with it. So for some reason I created a character called Sphere, or Spear, or any other way you want to say it. He is an all-powerful godlike being who, yes, he's not actually all-powerful because all-powerful is impossible, even if you're all-powerful. It's a paradox. Anyways, his power was the Omni ability to use any other superpower, past, present, or future. I still don't know why I named him Sphere, but he began the Turtleverse for me. He's my first superhero, and it changed my life. Whether for the better or the worse, I don't know. I was only 9 years old when I made Sphere, which I already mentioned, but still. But he was the start of something amazing. Of course, years went by, and I only made a handful more characters, including Buggo and Micro, who are honestly the only ones I still remember from that time in my life. After my first few characters, I finally came up with Pulse, a custom version of the Flash, because I was obsessed with the red suited streak. This led me to making the Energy Force, the source of all superpowers in all of existence. I loved it. It was super cool. It was creative. It was personal. It was unique. It was me. But something was off. So I renamed it. I took my love for superheroes and I mixed it with my love for biology. And that gave me the Bioforce. And now that was a good name. It was perfect. Source of all powers and all life. But who made it? Well, my 13-year-old little brain thought about it and think it did. Sphere was perfect. He created it. He literally has all superpowers. But if Sphere was only born and alive because of the Bioforce, then it was a loop. And that's when my little brain said, nah, that's good enough for me. And I never thought about it again until I started getting serious about making my universe a real thing. Then my characters needed backstories. I already had Buggos because he was the result of a game I played in elementary school. But what was Pulse's? Well, I decided a lab explosion, because the Flash was a lab explosion, and yeah, don't judge me. However, as time went on, I realized I was too close to the Flash. Yes, Flash inspired Pulse, but I wanted my character to be unique. So I began to think, how could I solve this? What about a new force, like the Bioforce? Just one that gave Pulse his speed powers. Something like that. Something different but similar. While also still being influenced by the Speed Force because Bioforce was the energy force, and the energy force was created by the speed force. So in a roundabout way, he's still inspired completely by the Flash. Anyways, after a couple of weeks of name ideas, I finally came up with the Warp Zone, a force of energy that allowed space-time to work within itself. So if you have like a pencil, but you can't draw without paper, the universe can exist, but not without warp zone. Time wouldn't flow and matter couldn't move through space. Once again, my brain had pretty good ideas for a 14-year-old. I once again continued to make characters. Not many, not a lot. I came up with Sphere's father and the idea behind Sphere's backstory. I didn't name the dad though. Anyways, I made more characters, more stories. I developed the idea behind the cringe point, negative bioforce, the time core. I had a whole multiverse of superheroes and villains I was building. Fair warning though, it actually took me until a couple years ago before I started making villains. I had like 3 villains, and the rest of my characters were all superheroes. Then one day at lunch, during school, I created a Google document. I called it Document 17. Now, it was not the first roleplay I had ever done, but I thought this one could last for a little bit longer. So I told my friends, and they all logged on, and we started roleplaying. Then me and Mighty Bean, we kept playing. Everyone else disappeared or got bored of it, but me and Mighty Bean, we kept making the story go further. We kept going on and on and on. Then, eventually, I began to create more characters for Document 17. I named Sphere's father and introduced him. He became a main character. Then years and years went by. After like 5 years, I was shocked by how large Document 17 had become. It was just supposed to be a silly little roleplay, but it became more than that. On top of Document 17, I had begun writing a book. Several books. I've moved out of the house, I'm out of high school. Document 17 has a miniseries and its own YouTube channel. I also started turning Document 17 into an actual book, though finishing it is proving to be quite difficult. As of the time of this video, my desire to finish it is low, but it's coming back, and I think that's just because I wrote 117 pages, or 12 chapters in 3 months. I usually do about 10 pages per chapter. I think I just burnt myself out, honestly. When I first started writing Document 17 as the book, I got the first 6 chapters done in a week, so I definitely think it was just a matter of burning myself out. Anyways, I'm going to move on to the current timeline. This is a canon story that happens within the not Document 17, lol. It's a canon story that happens within the Turtleverse, and Document 17 belongs to the Turtleverse, so I could have just kept that, but... We begin in Earth A1, 7 years after humans began to record their history. Reckon, a humble kid going about his life, fell for a woman. This woman, whose name was Glass, was the most beautiful woman Reckon had ever seen, so he vowed to earn her love by saving her father. But to do that, he had to find the Regeneration Stone. That was a rare ability stone that could grant the consumer the ability to heal. It took Reckon years, but eventually he found the stone. However, he was attacked by another man who was after Glass's love. They fought for literal days, over and over, until Reckon couldn't go anymore. In a desperate gamble to stay alive, Reckon consumed the Regeneration Stone. The healing kicked in, and he lived. The enemy tried to kill him, but he couldn't because Reckon was effectively immortal now. It took Reckon 6 months to return home. Once home, Reckon tested his blood, discovering he could temporarily give his regeneration to others for a short time, which is a repetitive sentence. Anyway, he gave some of his blood to Glass's father, which allowed him to heal. Glass was so grateful for this that she agreed to go out with him, in terms of what it was like to actually date people back in those days. Of course, we don't actually know what it was like, so I'm just going off like sort of modern stuff. Like, it's not like she fell head over heels with him. It's just that she felt like how do I explain this? The act of Reckon doing what he did to save her father made her become slightly infatuated with him. So she didn't become madly in love with him, but it was her feeling so grateful for what he did that resulted in her beginning to develop natural feelings for him. Anyways, years later, they actually fell in love with each other instead of just lusting and infatuation. It was true love. Though I don't believe in true love, it was just like genuine love. Anyways, they had a son, Sphere. Then, one day, while Sphere was in his 20s, he decided to follow what his father had done when he was younger, but he wasn't doing it for a woman or even a man. He was after something more powerful. After nearly a decade, Sphere, the son of Reckon, found the Omnistone, an ability stone that would grant him godlike powers. But he didn't realize just how powerful he would become. After he consumed the stone, he was stuck in a state of processing for almost 30 years. His body could not contain the power. Then, finally, after he adapted to it, he came out of that state. But he had to shut off so many powers because even he couldn't handle that level of everything. It was too much for him. After some self-deliberation, Sphere decided to use his powers to go back in time to see what he could find. What he found was a man named Godwin, who was shocked to see Sphere. After much confusion and explaining, Sphere decided not to mess with the timeline any further. Though he was confused about the fact that he couldn't go back in time to the Preverse, where Godwin was from, which perhaps it had something to do with the fact that it no longer existed, though that didn't make any sense to Sphere because didn't he have all powers? Eventually, Sphere decided to return to the present, but in the same dimensional plane of time itself, if that makes sense. There, he saw the multiverse for the first time. Universes splitting off from each other. If someone blinked for half a second too longer, it would create an exact copy. If the president was a completely different person, it creates an exact copy. It doesn't matter what it was. Everyone was just constantly creating new realities by existing. So he fixed it. Instead of letting new universes split into new realities or do other things like that, he took 400 years and changed how the multiverse works, setting it up in a system that allows it to function, but also allows separate, completely different realities to function apart from each other. He did this by making a multiverse be a collection of universes, and a multiverse could be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, another multiverse could be the Marvel Comic Universe. They're both Marvel and they both have the same characters, but they're such different realities that they exist in two separate multiverses, but are connected by one Ultraverse, which lumps all universes that share similar designs together. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but I could make probably a 2-hour video on how this multiverse system works, and I have spent every day for the last 11 years trying to figure out how to make the perfect multiverse. After Sphere set up the multiverse, he found his father, and he realized something was different. His father was immortal, so they decided to stick by each other's sides. Although eventually they realized that the system designed had resulted in alternate versions of themselves. Hundreds of Reckons, hundreds of spheres. So, all of the spheres agreed to only exist in their own reality, control only that. And the Reckons took control of a multiversal police force, building and advancing technology. This was done because each sphere, well, they know what they're in. They know it's a Google document. They know they're in a game. They know they're in a movie. They know they're fake. They have the ability to see through the fourth wall. So they know to stay out of any conflicts that are written into the story because that removes tension, which is a little bit of a cop-out, but at the same time, I'm not going to get rid of Sphere. He's the first ever character I made, so shut the heck up. Anyways, eventually, Sphere found out about Glove, who was essentially Sphere but evil. And if Sphere represented good, then Glove represents evil. Though they didn't understand that because with all powers, they should have the ability to choose, but they don't. Anyways, after all of this, after all the books I've written and some other stuff, it was fun to make all of this. And I hope you've stuck around throughout this whole video so far. I know I don't have the best recording voice. I don't sound like a radio guy, but I have to share the Turtleverse. I'm going crazy, and I need someone to validate me. Marvel is huge, DC is huge, Invincible is huge. I don't need to be that big. I just need someone to know something about the Turtleverse. And I don't know how long this video will be, and I don't know if I'll even post it. But if I do, please leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you like superheroes. And comment down below if you want more information on the Turtleverse, because I could make a series where I go through each and every superhero family I've made. I have 51 pages of superheroes to go through, and I'm not done. I'm not done making this document. Could end up being 60 to 70 pages. So if you want more, go ahead and tell me.